Lorna Dane was just an ordinary waitress, working long shifts at a small diner to make ends meet. She was a single mom, pouring all her love and energy into her son, Walter, who was battling a rare kidney disease. Every day was a struggle, a delicate balance of paying medical bills and putting food on the table. But Lorna faced it all with a smile, known for her warmth and kindness to every customer who walked through the diner doors. She had no idea that one simple act of kindness was about to change her life in a way she could never have imagined. One cold, rainy afternoon, the diner door creaked open, and a group of bikers strode in. They were big, burly men, covered in leather and tattoos, their vests proudly displaying the infamous winged death's head of the Hells Angels. The other patrons in the diner tensed up, whispering and casting nervous glances. But Lorna, she just saw a group of cold, hungry people. She greeted them with her usual cheerful smile and led them to a large booth in the corner. As they settled in, one of the bikers, a man with a long grey beard and kind eyes, caught her attention. He looked exhausted, and there was a deep sadness etched on his face. Lorna took their orders, her professional calm never wavering. As she served them coffee, she couldn't help but overhear their quiet conversation. They were talking about a fallen brother, a member of their club who had recently passed away. The man with the grey beard, whose name she learned was Jake, was his closest friend. He was struggling with the loss, and his grief was palpable. Lorna's heart went out to him. She knew what it was like to feel that kind of deep, consuming sadness. She thought of her son, Walter, and the constant fear she lived with. In that moment, she saw not a scary biker, but a fellow human being in pain. When it came time for them to pay the bill, Jake pulled out his wallet, but his hands were trembling. He fumbled with his cash, his eyes welling up. Lorna gently placed a hand on his arm. "Don't you worry about it," she said softly. "This one's on me. I'm so sorry for your loss." Jake looked up, stunned. He tried to insist on paying, but Lorna was firm. "Please," she said, her voice full of genuine empathy, "let me do this for you. It's the least I can do." The other bikers looked on, their expressions a mix of surprise and gratitude. Jake finally nodded, a single tear rolling down his cheek. He mumbled a quiet thank you, and the group filed out of the diner, leaving Lorna to clean up, her small act of compassion already fading into the routine of her busy day. A few days later, Lorna was in the middle of a hectic lunch rush when the familiar roar of motorcycles filled the air outside. But this wasn't just a few bikes. It sounded like an army. She looked out the window and her jaw dropped. The diner's parking lot was completely filled with motorcycles, dozens and dozens of them. And standing in front, looking for her, was Jake. Lorna's heart pounded in her chest. Had she done something wrong? Was she in trouble? She nervously wiped her hands on her apron and stepped outside. Jake walked up to her, but this time he wasn't alone. He was surrounded by a sea of leather-clad men and women, all members of the Hells Angels. The entire chapter, it seemed, had shown up at her little diner. But there was no menace in their eyes. Instead, they were all smiling. "Lorna," Jake said, his voice booming but friendly. "We haven't forgotten what you did for us the other day. That was our brother we were mourning. Your kindness meant more to us than you know. The Hells Angels, we have a code. We look after our own. And you, ma'am, you treated us like family. So now, you're family too." Lorna was speechless. Before she could even process what was happening, Jake pulled out a thick envelope stuffed with cash and handed it to her. "We passed the hat around," he explained. "It's not much, but we hope it helps." Lorna opened the envelope, and her eyes widened in disbelief. It was thousands of dollars. More money than she had seen in her entire life. Tears streamed down her face as she tried to give it back, stammering that she couldn't possibly accept it. But Jake just shook his head. "We heard about your son," he said gently. "We know you're fighting your own battle. Let us help you fight it." But they didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, the bikers became regular fixtures at the diner. They didn't just come to eat, they came to help. They fixed the diner's leaky roof, repaved the cracked parking lot, and even gave the whole place a fresh coat of paint. They organized fundraisers, car washes, and raffles, all to raise money for Walter's medical treatments. They used their vast network to spread the word, and soon donations were pouring in from all over the country. The bikers weren't just patrons anymore, they were Lorna's guardian angels, a loud, leather-clad army dedicated to her cause. One of the bikers, a quiet man named Pat, was a retired mechanic. He noticed Lorna's old, beat-up car was constantly breaking down. One afternoon, he simply took her keys and spent the entire day working on it. He replaced the engine, fixed the brakes, and gave it a full tune-up, refusing to take a single penny for his labor or the parts. He just said, "Family helps family." Another member, a woman named Maria, organized a schedule to help Lorna with child care, giving her precious time to rest or simply be with Walter without worrying about work. The community, which had once been wary of the bikers, now saw them in a new light. They saw the gruff exteriors give way to hearts of gold. The Hells Angels weren't just a motorcycle club, they were a powerful force for good. They had rallied around a single mom and her sick child, showing the world that family isn't always about blood. It's about loyalty, compassion, and showing up for people when they need it most. Thanks to their incredible efforts, Lorna was able to afford the best possible care for Walter. The financial burden that had been crushing her was lifted, replaced by a profound sense of hope and gratitude. She was no longer fighting alone. She had an entire army at her back. The story of the waitress and the bikers became a local legend, a powerful reminder that you should never judge a book by its cover. A simple act of kindness, a cup of coffee given freely from the heart, had sparked an overwhelming wave of generosity that changed lives forever. Lorna's life was transformed, but more importantly, she had found a new, extended family in the most unexpected of places. The roar of motorcycles was no longer a sound of intimidation, but a comforting reminder that she was loved and protected. The Hells Angels had shown up to repay a favor, but in doing so they had given her and her son something far more valuable than money. They had given them hope, community, and the unwavering support of a family bound not by blood but by leather and loyalty. This true story shows us that kindness is a currency that always pays dividends, often in the most surprising ways. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more incredible true stories. See you next time.